So, welcome to the podcast. I don't know what I'm going to call this podcast. I have it in a playlist called My Deepest Darkest Thoughts, THOT, because I thought that was funny, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, so this episode is going to be about me being single for the last 2 years and why I don't want to really get back into dating at all. I did write a script or like an outline, but it's kind of cringe. So I'm gonna be looking at it and then kind of talking based off of that. Basically, I think I've only been in one relationship, okay, one real relationship, and it wasn't very long, and it was the kind of relationship you get into where you're in college and you just date someone because you're lonely and blah blah blah. So I broke up with that guy, and it's been 2 years since. I've been getting the usual questions from friends and family about like, when are you gonna start seeing anybody? When are you gonna start dating? You know, that kind of stuff. And honestly, not super interested. I did consider it. Honestly, I did consider it. I was like, maybe I should try again. But I kind of just don't want to. And the short reason for why I don't want to do it anymore is because I'm just not in like a good place for that right now. I'm kind of transitioning right now. Like, I'm trying to graduate. I'm trying to find a job that's like a full-time job. I'm trying to save up money. You know what I mean? I'm like not in a position to be spitting game right now, you know? But, you know, all of those problems I'm having, they'll go away, right? I'll get a job. I'll save up some money. I'll make the pimple that I have go away because it's really painful. I'll figure it out. But assuming all of those problems went away today, would I want to date anybody? And the answer is probably no. Something I've realized about myself is that I'm not the kind of person who ever like wanted to date. Like when I was a little girl, you know, I wasn't one of those people who was like planning their wedding. You know how little girls will plan their wedding. I never did that. And then when I got into like middle school, high school, this is typically the age where girls get super interested in boys, and where a lot of girls start wanting to talk to guys because it's fun. They like getting the attention. It's fun for them. And for me, it just wasn't something I was interested in, so I didn't do it. Now, the thing is, when I was in high school, I was in a really intense friendship that almost kind of felt like a relationship. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I wasn't super interested in dating, because it kind of felt like I was already dating someone, even though I wasn't dating anyone. And then, of course, that friendship ended because typically those kinds of friendships end pretty badly. And then I got to college, and suddenly I had way less friends, and it was the pandemic, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I got into a relationship, which is not what you're supposed to do when you're not sure about yourself, but that's what I did. And that relationship wasn't very good. It was not a good relationship, but I did learn a lot, and I'm over it now. It's been 2 years. There's no hard feelings, but it wasn't the best relationship. And for a while, I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, maybe the only reason why I don't want to date is because I'm not over what happened to me in the relationship. And the truth is that I am over it. Like, I've learned the lessons I need to learn. And truthfully, I think that if I did start dating again, the relationship I would have now would be a lot healthier. I don't think it would be perfect, but I think it would be a lot healthier because I now understand how a relationship is supposed to work, sort of, right? But I think the thing for me, and what I've realized about myself, is that because I'm not the kind of person who's like super interested in dating naturally, I think I started dating for the wrong reasons. You know, as you get older and as other people start getting into dating starts to become a way of making friends and a way of bonding with other people, especially amongst women, right? If you're talking to a girl and she, you know, thinks that you're cool and she wants to be friends with you, she'll ask you if you have a boyfriend. She'll ask you if you're talking to anyone, right? Girls love talking about boys, and if you don't have any new updates on your love life to share, you're just going to have a really difficult time making friends with other girls. And I think I realized that when I got to college. So having this relationship, even though the relationship was not good for me, it did make it easier to talk to other girls because I could just talk about this guy. Problem solved. And I mean, that's just not the best reason to stay in a relationship with someone. I think that the problem with dating, right, it's not actually a problem. It's actually a problem with me. The problem with me is that I think dating, in order for you to enjoy dating, you need to like the person that you're with, and you need to be motivated by your attraction to that person, not motivated by a desire to impress the people around you, you know? And I've noticed, everyone's talking about how cringy podcasts are, how cringy like modern dating podcasts are. And I think one of the reasons why those podcasts are cringe is because it's very clear to me that these people are not dating for love or for a connection or even for just like a sexual experience. These people are dating because they want to look cool, right? These guys, they're dating girls because they want to show other men that they are capable of attracting women, and these women are dating men because they want to show other women that they're capable of dating men, which is weirdly homoerotic, but also not why you should be dating anyone. You should be dating someone because you like them and you have things in common with them. And I just haven't met anyone that fits that criteria, so why should I be dating? And I know that there's dating apps, but that's the other problem with dating apps. I think the thing about dating apps is that it's boring. You make a profile, you put up some pictures, you're swiping through other people's pictures, and you're like, that person looks okay, that person looks fine, and you don't actually like anyone that you're swiping on. You're just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, and you're just hoping that the person you're going out with doesn't turn out to be a total creep, and it's just not fun. It's literally not fun at all. I think about like the only crush I've ever had, the only real crush I've ever had, which is the crush I had on that friend that I was super close with in high school. And I think the reason why that crush was fun was because I wasn't trying to date. It was just like, we met, we had a lot in common, we had a good time, great, butterflies. You know what I mean? I think that made that experience a lot more fun. And in that moment, I could understand why dating would be enjoyable. But you have to actually have those feelings first. You can't just force it by swiping on someone's profile picture. Yeah. Let me take a sip of my Dr. Pepper here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So in my script that I wrote at 3 a.m., I wrote down like these stages of emotions that I tend to experience whenever I'm doing something new. So the first stage is desire, right? The desire for the emotion or the experience. So an example of that would be something like being in love with the idea of being in love, right? And then the second stage would be experience, right? You're experiencing this emotion for yourself. So like you're having a crush for the first time, or you're in love for the first time, or you're horny for the first time, whatever, right? And then the third stage is excitement, right? You're getting excitement that stems from being new to that experience, right? That first relationship feels intense, that first crush feels intense, whatever. And I think the reason why it feels so intense is because there's like a small part of you that almost didn't really believe that it would happen. And it's not because of a lack of confidence. It's just like a lack of proof, like a lack of social proof. Like you didn't even know that you could do this, and now you're doing it and it's cool, right? And then after that, there's the decline, right? After that initial excitement, it fades, it declines, and now you can see the situation for how it is, right? So in the case of a relationship, the honeymoon phase is over, right? So stage 3 would be the honeymoon phase. Stage 4, the honeymoon phase is dead. And then in stage 5, discover. You're discovering how you really feel. Now that the honeymoon phase is over, you can decide if the relationship is really for you and what you want. Desire, experience, excitement, decline, discover. Ooh. Put that on an infographic right there. Do you see what I just did there? Somebody will take that, turn that into a terrible self-help book, and then we'll get paid a lot of money to do that. So I just saved you a bunch of time. But Yeah, the point of that whole pretentious rant was that I think that when you're young, sometimes just the feeling of wanting to be in love is more intense than your actual feelings, and I think that it's important to recognize that. I think it's important to recognize that just because you want to be in a relationship doesn't mean that you should be in a relationship, and that's okay. And I think that this is just kind of a normal part of growing up. I think that these emotional phases apply to everything in life. Like when I was a little kid, I saw someone use a pogo stick on TV and I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. I have to have a pogo stick. So I told my mom and I told my dad, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I need a pogo stick. And so my dad shows up and he gives me this pogo stick, and I try bouncing on it, and I'm terrified of falling over and bruising myself. So I put the pogo stick in my garage and I never use it again, and that pogo stick is still in my garage, right? Like that's pretty much how life is. Sometimes you discover something new and you use it forever, and other times you're like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. And then on the flip side, when I was like 12, I begged my mom to get me a guitar, and I got the guitar, and I still use that guitar. Do I play it all the time? No. Am I the best at it? Absolutely not, but I still use the guitar. Still use it to this day. So you know what? It all works out. It all worked out. Anyways, yeah, so but I'm looking at my script. I was just going on a fucking tangent on this script. Oh my gosh. Damn, bruh. Anyways, so I think what I was trying to say in my script is that, like, the joys of life, the joys of being a young person is kind of going through those emotions. Finding something that you think you'll like, experimenting with that thing, seeing if you like it, and then either deciding to either continue doing it and continue making it a part of your life, or moving on from it and abandoning it. And I think that from that discovery, you can, discover cool parts about yourself, and you can create memories and have fun stories to tell. Dad lore, that meme, dad lore, how dads always have cool stories. You can have your own dad lore, and I think that's the fun of being young and the fun of growing up. And something I've realized is that with every other experience I have in my youth, I feel kind of good at the end, because at the end of the day, at least I have a funny story to tell. But whenever I'm talking about my love life, it's just like really embarrassing and stupid. So for example, like, I was in college. In college, people do dumb stuff. I've been very drunk before. I've been very high before. And were those times embarrassing? Yeah, they were embarrassing, but they were funny. They were funny. Right. Those are situations where I know 5-10 years from now, I'm going to be laughing about it, and it's going to be a funny thing. Like, oh my god, I remember that one time I got super drunk and blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to dating, it's just sad. It's just sad. Like, I watched videos of after I broke up with my ex, I watched so many videos of girls talking about their toxic relationships, and every single time I was watching one of those videos, I didn't find it very comfortable to watch. I felt very, very uncomfortable. I felt very, very sorry for these girls, and it wasn't a funny story. There's nothing funny or cute about getting ghosted or getting cheated on or getting stalked or getting lied to. Like, all those things are just traumatic and embarrassing and sad, and I honestly just don't want to go through that ever again. And basically what I'm trying to say is that if I'm going to do something for the plot, it's not going to be dating. Like, if I'm in the mood to try something new so that I can have an interesting experience, dating is just not going to be one of those things. There are so many cool and interesting things that I could be doing with my time that would also enrich my youth, but won't traumatize me. I could go to concerts. I could travel. I could read interesting books. I could try interesting foods. I could get into a new hobby. I could take a class. There are so many cool things you can do as a young person that are actually interesting, that don't involve putting yourself in danger and getting hurt emotionally in a relationship. I just don't understand why we've normalized that. On the weekend, if I had the choice between endlessly swiping on Hinge until I find a guy to meet up with versus just, I don't know, going to hang out with my friends, I think I'd rather just hang out with my friends. And people, whenever I talk about this, they act as if I'm gonna die alone, and I'm not gonna die alone. People will always want to be in relationships Especially in your early 20s, like there's like the men will be there. You don't need to focus on them all the time. It's not that serious. Okay. I wrote a banger of a quote in my script. I said, I didn't have an inherent desire for drugs, sex, or partying, so I wasn't able to fully enjoy myself. Things that felt natural to my peers felt like bungee jumping to me. I didn't actually want to do it. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. At the end of the day, I can still appreciate how chaotic my life has been, and having experiences helps me feel like a more well-rounded person. However, nothing has left me feeling more dejected than dating. After every encounter, I end up feeling embarrassed, tired, and most of the time, I don't even get a funny story out of it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sleep deprived me was cooking there. Like that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Like I think everything you do in your youth should be either funny or genuinely pleasurable. It either needs to be amusing or pleasurable. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And I just don't feel like dating is funny or pleasurable for me. Like I've been in this relationship, and the relationship I was in was toxic, and it was so toxic that I don't even want to talk about it. Like I don't feel comfortable talking about that experience because it genuinely like was a shitty situation that I don't ever want to talk about ever again. What was the point? I spent 8 months doing something that I never want to talk about ever again. If I had spent those 8 months doing anything else, it would have added more value to my life in the long run. Okay. And then I wrote here, even when it isn't horrible, there's something so exhausting about updating your friends about a date that got canceled or a crush that is clearly not interested. I realize now that if I just want to have fun and do it for the plot, there are so many more fulfilling things I could do besides dating. Ooh. No, but honestly, that's the other thing. Like, even when dating isn't, traumatic, it's just boring. Like, it's just boring. So, telling your friends, oh, there's this guy I'm talking to, and then it didn't work out. It's just like, okay, this is boring. This is lame. I would so much rather be doing something else with my time right now. So I'm just giving up. I'm giving up on using dating apps and trying to meet people that way. My new philosophy going forward in life is I'm gonna try and do stuff that I actually want to do. And if I happen to meet someone, great. If not, okay. And also, I'm fully aware of the fact that we're living in a time where people are addicted to their phones and where people are very cliquey. Everyone says that Gen Z is antisocial. Gen Z isn't antisocial. Gen Z is very, very cliquey. Once a Gen Z person has their friend group, they only want to talk in their friend group. So I'm fully aware of the fact that if I decide to not use dating apps, I'm probably going to be single for a long time. Because people are super, super cliquey. And you know what? I'm okay with that because being in a relationship isn't something that I really, really wanted anyway. Of course, if I end up catching feelings for someone, I'll want to date them. But I don't see the point of dating just for the sake of dating. Like I don't see the point of going to like a speed dating event or something, or like going on an app. I'd really rather just do stuff that I like, and then if something happens, great. If something doesn't happen, oh well. Oops, And then also something else, I think people need to start normalizing dating their friends again. That's how people used to meet back in the day, through friends. I think we need to normalize that. I used to be one of those people who was so adamantly against dating friends, but I think it was because I had bad friends. Like I had friends that I didn't actually like and who I didn't really like. I wasn't super compatible with on a fundamental level. So the thought of dating them just repulsed me. or the thought of them setting me up with someone repulsed me. Like, if you have a friend who you kind of feel like is a bad person, you wouldn't trust them to set you up with someone, right? Like, So I think that if you're more responsible about how you're picking your friends, you can totally date your friends or date people who are mutuals with your friends. You don't have to do everything on Hinge or Tinder or whatever. Yeah. And then I also wrote I wrote 2 things. It's hard because once I start dating, it's hard to stop. Not because I'm having a good time, but because I end up getting hurt. And I feel like I have to replace my crappy encounter with a better one. And of course that ends up being terrible as well. So the cycle continues. Yeah, see, that's the other problem. I think that once you experience trauma, you end up trying to recreate that situation over and over again so that you can fight back. Like after I broke up with my ex, I kept wanting to go on a bad date. Like I really wanted to go on a bad date just so I could be like, "Fuck you." And it's like, that's dumb. Just move on with your life. You don't need to keep on recreating this nonsense. And then I also wrote, it's hard, again, because when I'm not seeing anyone, my DMs are dry. When my DMs are dry and my crushes are non existent, I can tell that people around don't respect me as much. They are confused or concerned. If you want to get unsolicited compliments, just tell people you're not seeing anyone and they'll try to reassure you that you're pretty, as if not dating means that you're ugly or something. This is so real. People in my life seem to be genuinely worried about me because I'm not humiliating myself on another horrible date with another horrible person. And trust me, I'm fine. I actually feel like I feel more stressed out when I'm trying to date, when I'm just doing my thing and I'm living my life. The last, I'm gonna say like, the last 4 months, I was like super happy because I was just doing stuff that I enjoyed and I wasn't trying to date anybody. And of course, I went through some personal stuff that kind of ended up ruining that. But hey, in the moment, it was going pretty well. It's going pretty well, and I want to recreate that. Even when my relationship was at its most toxic, other women still envied me when my ex got me flowers or chocolates, as if that makes it any better. I've even seen women say that they feel left out because they haven't been catcalled by a guy. Being desirable isn't always fun. It's social currency. Who wrote this? Oh my god, no, I'm kidding. But like seriously, I just feel like a lot of people they get caught up in the superficial parts of being in a relationship and they're not focusing on the bigger picture. I've seen girls, they get into shitty relationships with men because they want to travel. I want a guy who can fly me out. You can fly yourself out. You honestly don't need a man to travel. If you got a good paying job with decent benefits, you could travel the world. You don't need to be in a toxic relationship with a man to travel the world, you know? Like, focus on the bigger picture. Okay, and this is like the part where I'm like oversharing, so I'm not gonna read that. But the conclusion of my script is pretty solid. It says, I want to do things out of passion and not because I'm trying to get in someone's pants. And I want to get in someone's pants because I'm attracted to them and not just to impress people. Amen, sister. That's basically the moral of the story. So it's not that serious. I'm not like an incel or anything. It's just that I don't feel like dating is a tangible goal in my life. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. So I've been yapping for about 25 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap up this video. But thank you everyone for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more videos of me talking about random stuff.